It's going. You're going to go here. Good morning, everybody. So I hope everybody's having a good day. And there's a ton to go over. We're just going to let everybody kind of funnel in here a little bit. And then after everybody funnels in, we'll get started. I just want to wait a couple minutes so that, I don't have to repeat a couple of the names that are out there. So let's just give it a minute and let everybody funnel in. And we can kind of start from there. I mean, the biggest issue, obviously, are the three major ones that came out with earnings. And we'll get into that. We can get into that actually pretty quickly. And then I can just answer questions that you have, jobless claims, things like that. And what's going on with the indexes. So let's just get started here. Start firing this up. So good morning, Raj. Good morning, Samira. Good morning. So as always, one of the key things that, let me just throw that over there. There we go. One of the key things that I would just note here is that you're seeing a draw to some of these earnings plays, right? So let's just start, okay? And it started with this, and let's just understand how this is all playing out, right? It started here where you're in a position, okay, where you're breaking down on decent numbers. Now I'm going to leave pre and post in. So this was actually a really good report, and we're selling down. So this was our first indication that that's the kind of market that you're in. And it could be because we had a decent rally of close to 5% on the NASDAQ before that happened. But that's a decent indication of what's going on right now, okay? You're not falling apart, but you're pulling back after decent run-ups, right, on the indexes. So that's something to consider, okay? Now we just kind of go through the names and see what's going on and see how some of those are playing out. Well, Tesla had record earnings, record revenue, and this is what you're dealing with. So I don't see any reason to panic with it. I mean, you're 50 points away from a high. You're 5% off the high. So I don't see any major moves here or anything to panic with, but I would not be a buyer of this here. I mean, to me, let's get through this, okay? And then you're really looking at the low of this level, right? Which is what, right? You're looking at that 857 level, and you're breaking that this morning. So you're gapping down, right, over that. And that's not really where you want to be. So this could come in today, and it needs to base a little bit before going higher. But I think that'll happen. And you're seeing it across the board. Like AutoNation had great earnings. And I wanted to get over this 2090 level. Looks like we're going to do that this morning. And let's just review here. So, I mean, you can kind of see that's the level I was looking for. And boom, it just went. So, I'll be looking to try to get around that 121 level if possible. I like that. CROX, another one, right? You're seeing it just explode up through here on earnings. Whether it stays up here or not, we'll have to see. But essentially, you're just going to be looking for positions. And these are the names that I would be focused on right now. There's a couple more, but I'll just start by taking questions and we can kind of go from there. Tesla, I just don't see the reason to do anything with right now. So, and let's look at ZIM. And then I have some more that I want to go over, but they might be answered in here. So ZIM, I mean, look. Here's your W, right? Here's your bottom. But the problem is you didn't undercut this, right? So you might roll again. You might not, right? We just don't know, right? But you can see a couple key levels here, right? Like you can see that right there, right? This huge rejection over here. You're kind of sitting right on it. Maybe you break it, maybe you don't. So it's not something I'm really ready to just, jump in here and get all warm and fuzzy about at these levels. Let's put the indicators in. And you can see how you're over the 50-day. So if you really wanted my attention, what you should be focused on is getting over the 50-day. If ZIM gets over the 50-day, I would have an interest. Other than that, no real interest right now. PNC. So, yeah, I mean, that's a nice little break. What was that, earnings? No, just before it's just breaking out. I mean, you're starting to see these regional banks like this move. That's a decent move. For me, I look at hold on, let me get to one. I look at like this, right? Like this is, if I want to play the regional banks, this is what I buy, okay? Because it moves. and it moves pretty violently, right? Like look at yesterday, right? 25 points. This can have serious moves with it. And you're seeing that. So I would say that this is probably the one that I would focus on more than the other ones. And it's playing out very well. I don't see any reason to do anything with it. So let's just keep going. So AN I like a lot. I mean, I really like that the way it looks, and I like what's going on with it. I just covered it. Hopefully you saw that. But you know, this just is setting up to take this out, in my opinion. This little curve over the 50-day, and then you rip. So I really like that, and I think it has massive potential. So AX, let's take a look. So Axo Financial. Okay. I'm not sure what space they're in. My concern would be this. So you got up here, right? And these wicks are price rejection. So you see that rejection right there. And then you come here, right? Bonk, 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 gets over. You think it's going to go, closes the next day below it. And then we go from here. And now the 8-day, now you're rejecting the 8-day. Not exactly where you want to be, right? So I would at least wait till you close over this, maybe even a weekly close because of the rejection we've seen, right? So let's take a look at this on a weekly. Yeah. So maybe you want a weekly close over that level because you're having an issue with it. I would wait for that before I'd get involved there. So let's take a look at KNX. So $52, right? And then you get over here, $54. This could go. I mean, this looks pretty good, frankly. Let me go to the daily. So yeah, this could go. I don't know if this is moving because do they have some types of trucks that are moving or going to California or something like that? So I mean, this actually looks really good, and this could really move. So I absolutely would be looking at this. This is definitely something that would be on my radar. Absolutely. So especially getting over that level, this is a nice find. You got over that 50-day and you just exploded, right? So it must be on what's going on with the supply chain issues that this has some potential. And let's just take a look at this. So yeah, I like that a lot. I think that could really go. Yeah, I would enter it, Raj. I would enter it over that level I just gave and just keep a tight stop on it, see how it trades. But yeah, getting over this and opening over this, it just looks like you're going to go up again. There's a trend line up here, but you might just flip that pretty easily with that kind of momentum. ASML and PayPal. Well, they're both on my radar. Let's start here. So I really like ASML. You pulled back yesterday. You couldn't close above the 8 or the 21. You're kind of sitting right here at the support level. I'm not in a big hurry here. You might base before going higher. You see how you rejected the 50-day? So it kind of told you what was going to happen, right? Or what institutions thought was going to happen. So it's not something I'd be rushing into at these levels. That's for sure. It's not something that I need to be involved with. I like the name. It's just, you're just in limbo right now. There's a couple names like that. They're in limbo. This is on my radar. Look, I want it to pull back down to this 252 level. And then I'll get involved. 254, anything in the low 250s, and I'd get involved with this. You had an 8% move on this, right? So you had an 8% move on something that might happen. It's kind of crazy. And, this stock's not trading. This is not trading like this is a done deal by any stretch, right? You're still 10 points off the deal, right? So this is not a done deal by any stretch. So I really like PayPal. And I think it moved too much on the downside to the move. I kept trying to buy it yesterday and getting stopped out and held a smaller position and made some money on it. But I think that overall, yeah, if it gets down to this level, I'm even saying 254, I'd be all over it. So, and I'd look at it as a long-term hold there. I think that could really work. Good morning, Pins. Pins and ATVI. So, yeah, I mean, for me on pins, this is the level that I would be looking at. This is when you found out what the news was, and this is where you went to, right? So that's when you found out what the news was, and that was the low of it, right? You had this huge spike. We had the algos and high frequency traders, but you pulled back to this level, and you never came back to it. So I have a buyer here at 59.27. It looks like. So that's really what I'm looking for, 59.27. If I get to that, I'd have interest. And yes, it can get there again fairly quickly on just any kind of news, right? They'll just whack it around a little bit. You know, if it has decent news on it, that could happen. Activision, do we have earnings coming out? I keep getting asked about this one. This is not something that's overly appealing to me, like at all. Like you're trying. You came down, but you still can't even make a higher high. Maybe if you can get over 79, you could look at it, maybe. But I mean, there's not much that's appealing about it. For me, it would be interesting, where I'd get interested, frankly, get above this 50-day. And then I would be interested. Until above that 50-day, I would not play with this. I understand that these are curling up and people are looking at that. Now they're looking at the higher, the higher low. I get it. I mean, I see what you see. You just don't have any confirmation. So at least get over the 50-day. And then you have to realize you're holding it into November 2nd earnings. And you have to realize, is that something that you want to do? So let's take a look at that. That's not something I'm going to be rushing into. Google put. So that is very helpful to me when you tell me exactly what your thoughts are, to be honest. So the more color that you give me on your position is the more way that I can give an opinion. So on Google, okay, here you are on Google, and this is where you're at, this level right here, okay? What you have to think about with Google is what are we going to do, right? What's really going to happen here? I'd be really careful buying a put on Google right here, okay? I'm of the belief that the market's going to rip towards the end of the year. And if I'm right and it does rip, okay, what's going to happen? Google's going to go up. So I'm a big, you want to short Google, you short it when it's up here on this trend line. Okay. You buy it when it's breaking this trend line. It's like the exact opposite, right? Because it's more of a value play. It's just an enormous behemoth cash cow. I mean, nobody can play with it. It's just enormous. It's one of these stocks that probably in our lifetime we actually see get broken up by the government, but and I think it's even worth even more money when they break it up. Just like you remember when they broke up I'm dating myself, but when they broke up the Verizons and US West of the world and they broke up the telecom companies, I think they're going to do it with this. I just think it's a matter of time, before it actually happens. So AEHR. So look, AEHR, I mean, this is really where you're at, right? So this is what's going on here, okay? And you stopped. So we're still in it in the newsletter. I mean, I broke, I opened, I came down, they shook us out, and then we rallied. If you flip 2048, if you can flip 2048, you may have a trade there, right? I was looking at that. There may be a trade there if you can flip that 2048 level. So just keep that in mind. That can happen. UPST, I would avoid. It's very clear who's in charge now. The sellers are in charge. You've broken the 8-day. Usually when you break the 8-day, you test the 21, right? That's kind of been our MO. So I would think that you can get to 332. Maybe we hold that, but I don't know. I'd be really careful here with this one. This is not something I would jump into. I forgot to move this over to recently viewed so everyone could see the names that we've already looked at. You can kind of go through them. And you can also see some of the stuff that I've been looking at. So, but that's definitely, not names. This UPST is not something I'd be jumping into. Snap, you have earnings tonight. So, I mean, you're just rolling the dice. They could be good or they could just be like pins. I don't know how they're going to do. I really don't. This was everybody here bought it, right? We all bought pins on this news, right? Oh, like pins is going to do well. Pinterest will do well. Snap's doing well. That's how they've been trading, right? Because they're not really censored, not really big on censorship and anything like that. So they kind of have the same demographic, right? So when you think about it from that perspective, is just like more pure plays on social media. It's pretty interesting, but that didn't work out for us. Like pins, just people just got off of it. So I don't know if Snap's doing better because of its shorter format or what the reason, but it's doing better. Now, what you have to do is understand earnings, but here's that day where it looked like we were going to break out. I actually bought it and then just got stopped out of it. And then you have an inside day. Now you have another inside day. You could have another inside day today and then have great earnings and have this run up, or it could collapse. So to me, I'm not playing this, right? I have no interest in trying to play this. I think that this could have a decent move one way or another. And that's not something that I want to just gamble on. You know, I just don't want to gamble on it. Hey, Ahmed, good morning. Thank you. Yep, there it is. Somebody asking for the recently tab. ALK. So let's take a look at ALK. So in regards to it, I mean, you can kind of see what's going on here, right? It's not something that I'm gonna chase. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see anything like, why would I get involved here? You know, if you're looking for news or there's a data or there's something fundamental that came out, like you're expecting it to move due to the earnings, that's a completely different story. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is that something I'm going to get involved with up here? Probably not. You know, where would I be interested in getting involved? You know, if you could get above this, you know, this wick right here, you know, 59, you know, 59 and what? 59 and a quarter. Yeah, I'd have an interest. Roku and Crowd. So Roku, clear rejection, right? Just clear. I mean, clear as day. Look, right? We tried to break over it. Now we're below it. Like just clear rejection. This needs to hold here. If it doesn't, we're going to just roll right back down. And that's really not what we want to see, right? Nobody wants to see that. So, you know, maybe they'll pull back to this level and then rebuild and try again. That could happen. But it's not something that I would be buying here. It's at a crossroads. It's got some decisions to make. You know, Crowd to me looked like it was going to go, and it just didn't. Instead, we touched it and pulled right back. But you are forming this huge flag. Well, not huge, small flag right under. You see, here's your flagpole, and then here's the flag, and you're all near the high end of this. So to me, I think this is a matter of time before it goes. But you can see clearly where the issue is, right? So 289.24. I mean, until you get through this 289.24, you really don't have anything, right? So, I mean, if you want to get super technical, which we can, let's get rid of all of this. And here, just look at this. This will just explain the entire issue, right? I can explain the entire issue with one bar, right? Okay. So if I go to the top of this 288, I can't close above that. So this red bar is still in charge, right? See that? Who's ever here, who was ever doing this battle, I mean, you can see, right, how these long red bars determine a range. Can't break it, rejects, comes back down, gets through it, becomes what? Support. And now you're here. Here you are. So, I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it. For me, I'm looking at I think it's 289 and a quarter is where I'm looking at it. And then I'd have interest there. FedEx, Paycheck, IIPR. So let's just do this one. It's one we traded in the newsletter and done fairly well with. Let's take this out. Yeah, I'm not overly surprised by this. I mean, you know, we talked about this name. It looks like it's ready to rip. I actually have it here on the short list to put back in the newsletter, but I have to see how it goes. It's on my short list. I'm gonna leave it at that. Right, I'm looking at that area, and I haven't gotten my close, so I have to see. But yeah, I think that this could be a massive mover. I think people grossly are underestimating this, and you know the space that's going to be needed for all the supply that's out there. And they have a great model. I mean, they have a great business model. They get a percentage of revenue of the place. It's very smart business. PAYC. So PAYC. Now, you know, when you start rejecting like this at the top, and you have like a wick here, another wick. Not so much. I'm not as interested. Rejection again. You're just losing interest, right? For whatever reason, they're just losing interest in the name. And let's see what's going on here. And if you have earnings soon, and people are selling the stock. I mean, it's not overly exciting. The IIPR I like a lot more. I think that one looks way more interesting. FedEx, FDX. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a disaster. I mean, not something I would go near. Could it bounce? Sure. It could probably bounce up to here. You could get 18 points out of it. Sure. I mean, that's not my kind of trade. You have to have a lot of patience for something like this, like a lot. I mean, you have to be willing to sit with this for months and just not have it make any money. And, you know, if you have that kind of money where you can just park money, sure, give it a shot. Maybe it holds here and then trades back up over time. But it's not something that I'd be rushing into. That's for sure. UNG, Yang, and Playboy. So let's look at UNG. So, yeah, I mean, again, natural gas, you came back to your 50-day and you're bouncing. Maybe it holds. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, the China Bear, 3X shares. I mean, it's kind of falling apart here, right? So these 3X are very difficult to trade because they get so much money in fees. So it's really hard to trade these, right? You know, these breakouts are pretty much where you sell it. The pullbacks are pretty much where you buy it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. Yang, let's take a look at, yeah, I mean, I'm just not that interested. It's too thin. It's just they're whacking it around. I think this looks really good. You know, I looked at this yesterday. It was on a short list of mine. Didn't have the follow through I wanted through 30. It actually just stopped right there. But you're building this flag over the 200-day, and you're above the 50, the 8, the 21. And look, they're all widening up. This is setting up to move, in my opinion. Now, could it reject like last time, like it did here? Possibly, but we have a little different. These are all starting to point up, and we're above the 200-day. So, you know, over 30, this could see 39, at least 35. So I like this name, but you might have to have a little patience with it. But I do like the name. And, you know, the moves that they're making in NFTs seem to be working. They're getting interest. Oh, geez, there's a lot in there. So let's unpack what's most important. Let's just do bookings, Jets, and Expedia. So I can get to other people. This must have been earnings. No, just sold down. You know, it's really interesting, that rejection. I mean, this was on a short list that I was looking at buying, and I just didn't get. And it's so important to look for volume, right? Like you just didn't have that volume on the break. So I was not so much. I mean, obviously I didn't expect this, but you know, something's going on. Somebody wants out of it, so it's not something I'd be rushing into. That's for sure. That's a complete rejection again, right? So it's telling you we're rejecting again. It's not something you really want to rush into here. That's for sure. Jets. Yeah, I mean, it's telling you what's going on, right? And that's why it's so important to understand this. Like, this is not something I would go near at all. So NOV. So, yeah, I like this. I think this looks great. It's acting very well. Again, we talked about this one yesterday, Daniel. You just don't have any volume. Doesn't mean it can't work. Just means you don't have any volume, right? So the probability of the bottom falling out is just a little greater, but does not mean that it cannot work. So just keep that in mind, FYI. Good morning, 77. CDEV CRK. Yeah, I'm not something that I'm crazy about here. You know, it is what it is. I don't really see it. Look, you got up to the top of this again and you reject it. I mean, is that something you want to be a part of? No, it's not. So, and then here you're right here. Yeah, I mean, I don't like either of these. Don't take it personally. I'm not a fan of either of them, though. I got above the 8. Now I got to fight the 21. Do I really want to do that? I mean, like it's a whole thing. So Samira, long-term hold on Sava. For me, no, I don't think that you can hold that long-term here. I don't feel that way at all. There's a lot of news, and I really appreciate the color of you telling me how you're looking at it and what you're looking for, because that also tells me how to like phrase what I'm looking for, or and I think that's important. Let's remove all text, and you could see how many times we've played with this and the levels. Pardon me, and the levels that we're looking for. For me, this is not something that I want to go near, not even remotely go near. It's just gotten zero interest for me. This just looks really nasty. They had all those accusations and they were really bad. Like, I don't know why these are all here. Let's just get rid of all of this. So they had these accusations, right? And then they rebuffed them. And the rebuff of those accusations was just horrible. And since then, yes, you've seen a bounce. But overall, this just looks like, it just looks disastrous. So let's just leave it alone. It's not something I want to go near. It's definitely not something that I want to go near. Microsoft Tilray. Microsoft I like a lot. I think Microsoft's going to continue to hit all-time highs. Caveat, we do have this in the newsletter, and I do have a position in it. I really like the action. I like the action in that. And I mean, look, as these go up and as the S&P goes up, these are going to go up. I mean, that's just my belief. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But I like Microsoft a lot here. Tilray, I had a trade on the other day. I trade over, in my opinion. Like you run right to the 50-day and you reject it. That's enough. You're probably not going anywhere here, right? And again, if you are going somewhere, I'm not touching it till I'm over 1217, right? I don't want to get over it. Like you can just see this here. Look, when you zoom in, see how it reacts to this 50-day. So when you get over it, yes, sometimes you can go up, but then when you come back down through it, it just respects it. So if I'm respecting it again, that it would make sense for me to use it, right? So I'll just continue to use that level. Let's just keep going. So here, hey Dale, looking to buy an at-the-money leap and selling short-term calls against it. I feel this beat on earnings, but revenue missed. Yeah, I mean, I totally think you could do something like that. That makes a lot of sense. If you have that kind of patience, Dale, it makes total sense. I mean, they're not going out of business. The supply chain issues are going to be fixed. The problem is if you get rid of this, you're just kind of dealing with this, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So you don't really know where it's going. But yeah, I mean, you could buy leaps or buy stock against it and kind of go from there. What I would just be careful of before I buy the leaps, you can buy the leaps, but before I would start selling calls, I'd make sure that you break that 540 level, right? Make sure that you actually get below, 540, 50? Yeah, just call it 540 just to make the math simple, right? But I mean, and that's probably the leap I would look at too, and then just sell calls against it every time when it runs up. Just keep selling weeklies on it for a year or whatever they have outstanding on it. That makes perfect sense. I mean, it's a decent trade. I would do something like that if I was longer term and looking at that. Pins, the volume. Yeah, the volume's going to be great because you're going to get all the ARB people to play it, right? So you have all these people that play arbitrage. So they're going to get involved. It's the same thing that happened here. And so you have people that are playing that, trying to figure out how to play it. That's why it kept coming in, and that's why the other one hardly moved. They're predicating it off of these numbers and saying, well, that's what $70, that's what they're going to get. Well, that's not how it works. So, and if they're offering 70 and they didn't take it, people that are in pins, people that were in pins, okay, 6 months ago, they were at 90. Okay, the people that are in this long term are not really willing to sell it after it broke down here and PayPal's looking for a deal because they had a bad earnings quarter, right? Or we're getting cyclical. Even if we're getting secular, it doesn't matter. Like people are not going to be willing to sell at that level. And it's pretty clean to look at. Like just look at this for a minute. Just go volume by price, okay? And realize that the majority of people own the stock up here, right? So, you know, or you could even say here it's 70. Like that's a, you know, people are not looking for that. They're, you know, you come out with a higher number, they could do it. So, and that can hurt PayPal if they overpay. So it's a very interesting situation. You know, Janice, for me, what's slowly grinding up, I think it's pretty clear that large caps were to be. Like if I had to look at something like that, and I was like, where am I going to make 10 or 15%? I mean, like, look, you know, if you look at something like FNGU getting through 44, which is like a 3x ETF that has like Facebook, you know, Apple, you have some Amazon in there, Netflix, Google. I mean, I think that those kinds of names are there. Yeah. Do I think that this could go up 10%? I don't know. I think Apple could. You know, if I was to look at it, for me, it's the software names. The large cap software names is what I would be looking for. I think a lot of those is where I would put cash. If you were just looking for a trade like that. You know, I don't know if you get 10% out of it or not. I really don't. You know, it's you're going to have to take some risk. I mean, I don't know that you're going to get 10% out of Tesla from here. We just don't know if we're going to get that 80 points from here, right? You know, I'm not selling it, but I don't know if I'm going to get that or not. I think you have to be really careful of that, you know, that mentality of this is what I want to make towards the end of the year and go from there. That's what you want to make towards the end of the year, you know, just by the index, just by the Qs, right? I mean, if these stocks are going to go up, the Qs have a better chance of moving 10% because essentially, basically, what you're looking for is a 3% move or 4% move after slippage, right, on the index. And you could see that. You could definitely see that on the Qs. But I would look at large cap software, large cap tech names if I was trying to do that. Apple, I like a lot, Shane, and you know, I have a position in it. I have options on it. I have calls on it. Some of the calls I'm in. I'm still, I think, a little bit underwater, and the other ones I absolutely crushed it on. But you know, this was a pretty easy trade. Comes down, tests right here. Negative news. What happens on negative news? The stock trades up. Right. That was pretty much a really simple trade. Right. And we've been in it ever since. I mean, I haven't done anything with it. Like there's just nothing to do. And now I'm above the 50-day. That was my concern. The 50-day, how we're going to act to it. Well, now we're above it. Now these are going to start catching up. So if I have to have a couple of days of sitting in here and resting before I go and take out the highs into the end of the year, I really don't have a problem with that. So we see pre-market. This is WeWork. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to come out. I'm sure people are going to play it. You know, I mean, to me, it's a losing business. I mean, I don't get it. Look, let's just talk about the stock in and of itself, and can this work, right? Can this trade work? And let's just look at the first 15 minutes of trading, okay? Yeah, I mean, here's your range, and now you're up here. Could it work? Sure. Is it something I'm going to get involved with? No. I'll actually be on the other side of this. This is something that I would just short the heck out of, frankly. I'd hope that it bids up a lot, and then I would just look at trying to figure out where I could hammer it and short it. You know, that's really what I would be focused on. I have zero interest in trying to buy this and hold on to it. So, I mean, that's not really a business I want to be in. Morning, Marty. Yeah, I kind of like it. Marty, I mean, I kind of like the play. I just wanted to pull back and maybe I'll get involved. I mean, here's my range and that's what I'm watching. But if it pulls back, I'll get involved. There's a lot of catalysts. Yep, it's in the beginning of the video. Just go watch the beginning. I go through it. So, hey, Boca, APP. So let's go talk about APP for a moment. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so this is the end of the day, right? Where they try to drive it down, maybe. maybe make people panic. So we're in this at 92. We got up to 98. Everybody felt good and rosy, and then it sells down at the end of the day. I'm not sure why it sold down. You don't have earnings for a while. I don't know if they were going to come out and say a secondary, but usually you're not doing a secondary into earnings, right? You just don't. You're just not going to do a secondary into earnings. So it looks to me like, yeah, they're trying to say it's going to drop down again. I like it. I still like the name. I still think you have massive potential, so I'm willing to ride it. I mean, that's really how I look at it, risk versus reward. That's how I view the entire market. If you try to figure out like what my philosophy is, but maybe I come to the 8-day, maybe I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to call a top or not. Am I buying it today based upon that pattern? No, I'm not going near it. If I'm in it, I want to stay in it, right? But if you're asking me today if I would buy it, the answer is no. I need confirmation on that pattern, but I'm already in, and I'm happy with the position. And we've been trading in and out of this one for a little bit, right? We started down here, but we didn't put it in the newsletter till up here, till it finally broke out. And I think it looks fine, but maybe we just need to consolidate for a little bit, pull back, and then go higher. I'm not sure. I don't chase anything bidding up in the market. I mean, I'm just not a buyer of things that are bidding up in the market because they're bidding up. Like, look, these are names that I want to play with. Okay, I want to play with CROX today. Okay, it's a name that I definitely want to play with. Does that mean I'm getting involved pre-market up $10? No, it doesn't, because that's not really where the institutions are. No real institution is buying pre-market, right? Very rarely, and if they are, they're picking at it. So I want to see where I'm actually going to be. This AN looks like it's going to be something big today. So, that's really what I'm focused on. So, but, as far as second opinions, look, you have to do what works for you. If buying pre-market works for you, do it. It doesn't, statistically, I don't see it working out very well. Over time, I think people just buy that they buy when they get all excited. You got to the 50-day on Abbott and you reject it. Until you clear that, I wouldn't go through that. Bros, MRK. So Bros I like, right? And then we had the pullback, right? And now you're under 62. You got to close above 62 again. Until you close above 62, I don't really have an interest. Merck is Merck. I'm kind of surprised it's pulling back up. I'm kind of glad it is, but you see that wedge line, and then you're heading back up. I'm not really interested until I get up here. You're in no man's land right now, right? You're really in no man's land. I did do Netflix early. I'll just go through it real quick, and then we'll go from there. So, I mean, you're just in a trading range, right? And you broke that range. Hopefully you hold that 21-day. If you don't hold the 21-day, you're going to have an issue, right? Because you've been holding it since you broke out. That's the level you should probably watch on that on Netflix. Nvidia, Apple I just covered. Nvidia I like a lot. I really do. I think it's the one to own. It's just how I feel. I think you have potential to get up to the 250 level. I like that stock a lot, and I like the action I'm seeing in it. Dell. Yeah, I mean, it looks great. That looks amazing. So, I'm kind of stunned that it's doing so well. I mean, it's based for so long, and then it just started going. So, and from here, and then you just broke, and you just keep rocking and rolling. So, there's not much to say there. I mean, I really like the name. So let's just keep going here. ENPH. So, look, could it hold here? Yeah. I mean, it's trying, right? Like it broke out, it tried, it based, it's going. Maybe it goes here. I mean, I always think that if they're going to pass something, if they're truly going to pass something, it's going to be solar related. I mean, that's just kind of where my feelings are. So maybe that's what we're seeing. We're seeing some action in there. Adobe. So yeah, I mean, you got to that 50-day and you're holding it. You need to hold that line, right? If you break that line, it's going to come back down to at least here, at least to there. But overall, I mean, you have a wedge line here. I mean, it's not where I would buy it. Volume's falling off. So it looks like it might need a little bit of a rest there. I would not be shorting Tesla today. I hope it comes in and maybe I'll buy more of it. I would not be shorting Tesla. Let's go through this. AMD long. I'm going to wrap it up here very quickly here in a moment. AMD long. Yeah, I mean, I get this. I don't know that I'm going to buy it in the earnings, but that's if earnings were out like a month, I would totally be looking at this. I mean, this is what you're seeing on every single stock. AMD, right, gets above the 50-day and then it goes. I mean, you're just seeing that trade over and over again in this kind of market. So it's definitely something that I would be looking at 100%. So AVGO, let's take a look at that. So yeah, I mean, once you get through this level right here, look, but you're not able to get through 511. You need to get through 511 before you take a look at it and then go from there. I would not be buying Mara today. I think people are going to start getting away from those names now. Personally, I think when people start realizing they can just buy Bitcoin directly, why do they own the miners? Why are you in the miner business if you don't need to be? You know, I see the little pop up. It's not something that I would get involved with. So that's pretty much it, guys. I got to jump here. As always, you know, just please reach out if you have questions. I know a lot of people don't like asking about very personal stuff in here. So just email me there and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great day.